Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of your favorite Ball Blood podcast. My name is Jason Stalakis. I'm here with Jack today, remote. Nate's at work, so it's just gonna be a two-man show today. So, Jack, how are we doing? It's been a while.
Yep,
Welcome
been a
back.
minute, but I'm great. How are you? I'm glad that summer's here and it's hitting us well.
Yeah, I know you just got done with tennis a couple weeks ago. Unfortunately, didn't end the way you wanted to, but off
Yeah,
topic. We can talk all day about it, but let's talk about the Boston Red Sox for a minute.
absolutely.
And wow, it's been a roller coaster of emotions, and it continues. Uh, and now we're in a couple days away from June ending, maybe four-ish games left. You have like one against the White Sox, and then the Marlins series, and then
Yep.
uh, and then you go to Toronto. So, but let's talk about the games prior. So, Jack, give me your thoughts. Do you think the Sox have improved since their losing streak, or do you think they're back to where they are? I should say not losing streak, I should say winning streak. I don't know why I said losing, but ever since they won six straight, do you think they're back to their losing ways?
Yeah, it's a tough question because that's kind of been the trend of this team, right? They hover around 500, then they get above with an 8-game win streak, and then they go super cold. And this is a team who's playing well in their last 10 games. They were 7-3 before today's loss. And a lot of it's come down to the starting rotation as of late, right? The rotation's been really good as of late, ever since Paxton got healthy. He's pitched excellent. Bayo's been great as of late. Whitlock's been good since getting off the IL. But in that time, the offense hasn't been great. You've seen less production. Obviously, Duran got really cold, which was kind of expected, and Wong cooled down a bit, as well as a couple other guys. Devers still isn't totally where he needs to be. Whereas before, we weren't getting the best starts, but it's fine because we were scoring 7, 8 runs a game. So this team, I mean, they've been performing to this date around what I expected. I had them finishing with 84 wins, 3 games above 500. Right now, they're I think one or two games above 500. So I think, yeah, they're playing better than that terrible stretch after that win streak. But I think at the end of the day, that's what this team is. They're hot and cold. They're up and down like a roller coaster, and you're not going to get just a bunch of really good baseball from them because it's going to get ugly at times.
It was ugly defensively in the losing streak, and it shined on occasions. Like I know Arroyo made a good play in the Rocky series, but other than that, and Rafi's been great on the third base, but other
Mhm.
than that, the defense has not been good. You mentioned the starting rotation. I'll add Tanner Houck to that before his unfortunate comebacker, which the Sox have the worst luck when it comes to that stuff. But
Yep.
look,
Yeah.
look, Nate said this last episode. He's like the Red Sox are the definition of one step forward, two steps back, and it's showing. Right? We in the Minnesota series after, and this was in the midst of the 6-game winning streak. The Sox won the first two games pretty handily, right? And then they got walked off the game three. You know what? Whatever. Then game four, bullpen game, Brandon Walters' first appearance. Um, yeah, I think
Mhm.
he did okay. What, 6 and 2/3 innings? I didn't get to watch much. I was at work,
Yeah,
but
he was solid.
solid. But you said this one of the strength of this team was the rotation, and the rotation is we were talking about this earlier today too, like who's going to get the spot start for Tanner Houck's role. And I told you they're going to go with an opener and then Chris Murphy. Well, obviously they're not going to do that now because Chris Murphy was used today. So a lot is how should I say? I feel like we're I feel like and I don't want to say implosion or a fire sale, but I think a move is imminent in the next few weeks, whether it be the trading of a few 1 year pieces or um I think the 2 year deal guys stay, but let's
Agree.
it's been a roller coaster of emotions, like I said. Um
Mhm.
what what are your thoughts as the trade deadline's about a month away? Do you think the Sox should be clear sellers, clear buyers, in the middle, do nothing? Like what's your view? Uh, just up to
Um,
this point.
It's tough because you're playing in just such a stacked division, the best division in baseball. You know what? I mean, you can finish above. You can definitely finish in fourth and sneak into the wild card. Who knows what's going to happen with the Yankees, considering, Judge's injury is worse than we thought. But you're going to have to hop in front of the Blue Jays. And although I don't think the Orioles are as good as their record might show, you're not getting ahead of them unless they really implode. So you got to get in front of the Blue Jays and or the Yankees. It's tough. These teams are a lot more loaded than us and a lot more healthy than us. And I don't think you go all in. Definitely not on a rental. You don't go all in on a rental because that's not how this team's built. But if you want to add a guy who's under contract for another year or under contract long term, so be it. Or if you want to add a guy with the goal of extending him, so be it. Granted, where the team's at, I never have liked the idea of selling as the Boston Red Sox because you're a big market team. You're always supposed to be in this thing. So selling, like, it's a tough idea for me. They should have sold last year. They didn't. It cost them. For me, I don't see, like, if you look at their team, who could they actually sell? Paxton's a big piece that they could get. They could get something for. Um, a veteran with plenty of experience pitching really well on an expiring 1 year deal. To me, he's obviously the best piece that they have to move, but I don't think anybody's going to give you anything for Kike. You're probably not going to get anything for or much for Duval. Um, you're not going to get you're not going to trade Turner, Kenley, or Martin. So it comes down to those three, and it really comes down to Paxton. I don't think you're getting anything for Duval or Kike. So the question is, do you trade Paxton or do you look to add a guy who can be here long term? Well, I love the idea of adding a guy who can be here long term. But like Bloom touched on earlier, there are a lot of teams who are going to be pursuing guys. So, the deadline value of guys always goes up because there's demand for them. So I don't want to overpay now when we can just get a guy like that in the offseason in free agency or something like that in the hopes of buying games this year. I
Look,
would, however, welcome the idea of trading Paxton. I that's the big one. And if you can trade Kike, whatever, or Duval, whatever, but I think you do trade Paxton. I don't think he's here long term because you want Bayo to start, you want Whitlock to start, How can Cutter too. You have Sale under contract. You really need to go out and sign a pitcher too. I don't know if there's a spot here for Paxton unless you prioritize him over a young pitcher.
look, I feel like we're punting on this season. Look, if we make it, fine. But I always go back to what's the direction of the team. And I don't know what it is. I still think it's vague as a fan. I still think if the goal is to be competitive by the time Marcel Mayer comes up, unfortunately, we're gonna punt another year ball. Right. But if the direction is gonna be, oh, we're gonna be competitive next year, use the 1 year deals to trade for middling prospects, which is the best you're gonna get. You're not gonna get a top 10 a prospect for Paxton. Then okay.
You
The
could
only
get maybe a team's top 10, though.
yeah, okay, 10 or 9 at best, maybe 8. If but it's going to depend on the market, right? And you
Yeah,
said
definitely.
other teams are going to be bidding, and Paxton's a good. The only reason Paxton's going to have a little bit more value than other starting pitchers is he's a lefty, right? Lefty veteran who has experience, who's going to be a rental. So if I'm a team, I'm not going near my top prospects. Maybe a guy who struggling a little bit but needs a change of scenery. Um, but the only way you're gonna get a decent prospect return is if you trade the 2 year deal guys. So, but I'm not a fan of that at all.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, I think this team, I have the Red Sox being slightly missing the playoffs this year and being a better team than 500, just better than 500. But this team next year, they kind of reset the tax this year. They have guys under contract for a while, Story, Yoshida, Devers, etc. You have hopefully Meyer coming up. You have Wong and Casas, maybe Duran with more experience under the belt, Bayo, Winkowski, Cutter, whatever it is. I think this team can be really good next year with the addition of an ace and maybe a bat. So I'm not giving up on Turner because I think he can really help you next year. He can help a playoff team next year. I'm not trading the closer and setup man, both of which are elite, Martin and Kenley, when they can help you win playoff games next year. I don't think the return will be there, especially considering like Martin's very cost effective. And honestly, so is Kenley. So yeah, I'm with you. I wouldn't touch the 2-year guys, but you want Duvall, Kike, Paxton, so be it. I don't really think there'd be anybody else on the team with much value other than those guys. I don't know if is there somebody I'm missing who would maybe be trade bait. I mean,
No.
nobody's picking up Kluber.
Maybe Christian Arroyo. That's a maybe,
I
just
yeah,
because it's
probably
like
not
I'm
even. I
kind
mean,
of done with him personally. Like give
nobody's
me some
nobody's
Valdez in the place of Arroyo. I'm happy. Get some
yeah.
playing time to David Hamilton. Give some time to the young guys. Right. Bring up the kids. That's
Yeah,
what
I
they
mean,
should have done
nobody's
last year.
touching Kluber. The only one, I guess, the other guy maybe could be Pavetta. Maybe.
Well, yeah, Pavetta's interesting because what's his term? What's his role long term? I think he's gonna go because he has this year. He does have next year. The Tampa Bay way. I'm just gonna look hype like just as a Tampa Bay Ray front office guy. What's their way, right? You enter arbitration years and you're gonna get shipped
Yeah,
for
he's
another
he's
guy.
an ARB two. He's an ARB two. So like
Okay,
Pavetta's
so that
actually a
one
guy
year
who
after.
could have some value. However, I don't think he's gonna sign a deal here. Like I'd keep Pavetta. I mean I think he's a great reliever. He is 30 years old, but I think he's a great reliever. However, I think he's gonna test the market and want to start. He's been very clear on that. And there's gonna be a team like Detroit or somebody like that who will give him, a 2-year, they'll give him a Sean Manaea contract kind of thing. 2 years, 15 million or whatever it is. He'll get that to be a number 5 starter or something like that. Like he's not going to be here long term in the bullpen.
Right. Back I was trying to allude to a point earlier. Look, you gotta trade Paxton. I'm kind of in favor of getting rid of Kike. I don't think he has that much value, but if he continues to be a good utility player, I want to say continues because he hasn't really shown he's a good utility player yet. Just some flashes in center field, but if he can continue, if he can have a little bit more value, and Adam Duvall, he sucked. He's been like strikeout, 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 strikeout.
Yeah.
And that's the guy. That's a guy. He'll give you like 150 strikeouts in a season, probably, right?
In a full season, yeah, something like that.
Right. And everyone kind of knew that he wasn't going to return to original form after he came back from the IL, but because now he's like batting like 260. It's crazy. But
Yeah.
my point
Yeah.
being, you got to try to get rid of the 1-year guys. And I'm taking calls on the 2-year guys, but I'm only pulling the trigger if it's something good. Like if I have the team, like if the New York Mets are like, oh, we want Kenley Jansen and Justin Turner, I'm saying it better be good, or else I'm hanging up.
See, honestly, like I personally, I'm not even going to listen to a call. I mean, yeah, if you give me the best prospect in baseball, which is never happening, realistically, what you're going to get for Kenley and Turner isn't going to be worth it for this team because then you go into the offseason, once again, needing a closer, needing a DH, just like you did last year. When you have guys who can still play and who can help you next year, like I don't think what you're going to get is worth the risk or the wait, because at the end of the day, whatever you get, you're going to have to wait 1, 2, 3 years to see it out. So I'm keeping my 2-year guys. If you want Kike Hernandez, I mean, nobody's going to want him. And plus, you're not going to get anything for him. It's probably not even worth shaking up the locker room like you did last year. Kike is probably not going anywhere. You'll probably maybe see Paxton dealt. They made the mistake last year of not trading guys like JD or Evaldi or even maybe a Rich Hill or a Waka. Are they going to make the same mistake again? I don't know. I would probably lean towards yes, honestly. If I had to guess, they're going to look. If I had to guess, they're not going to add anybody, and they're probably going to stay put. Maybe trade Paxton. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think's actually going to happen?
What I think is actually going to happen, they're not going to get a single guy, like a single impact player. I think that's obvious because
Yeah.
if you're Hein Bloom, you're going to look at the depth chart and be like, okay, I have Trevor Story coming back. He adds power. He's a middle infielder and he has speed, right? He'll probably come back as a DH in July, which is actually in a couple of weeks. Jesus. So I don't know. Yeah, definitely no. And then when you look at the starting rotation, the only guy I would look at is Dylan Cease, but their asking price is definitely going to be like
It's going to be
Mayer,
very high.
Blyce,
It's going to be very
Rafaela
high.
level. So it's like Bloom has been very, very like hoardy with those prospects. So, but look, that's if the Reds, it's interesting because if the Red Sox do get an ace like Dylan Cease or Shane Bieber is another guy, then they don't need to go next offseason and go out to get an arm, right? Because let's look at next offseason. You're going to be in relatively the same place, assuming the 2 year guys stay. Because I also worry Bloom is like, oh look, I learned from last year. Everyone must go, right? I could see that. Unfortunately, do I think it's right? No, but my point is simply, um, if you keep the 2 year guys, you're going to go into next offseason in relatively the same spot, but a lot of the young guys are going to fill in roles for you easily. Like Jaron Duran, right? He could probably be your opening day center fielder. Alex Verdugo, Yoshida, and then infield left to right Devers. Shortstop, we don't know. Maybe it's Story. Second base, Valdez possibly. You have more minor
How
league
about
depth.
Meyer though? I mean, why can't Meyer? Meyer can come up and earn that job. I'm honestly hoping he does.
Yeah, I don't know if Bloom's gonna be rushed. I don't know if they're gonna rush him.
They're not going to rush him because at the end of the day, you're going to see Meyer at some point next year, whether it's in September like we saw with Casas last year, or whether it's he comes up right away or early to make a real impact long term. You're going to
Yeah.
see him next year.
Or a guy
I
like Nick
really hope
York.
that. Yeah, yeah, York's on the way too for sure. I mean, and that could open up a spot at DH for Story or something like that. Let the young kids play it out in the middle. But I really hope that Meyer has a great spring training, finishes off this year strong in AA, maybe gets the promotion to AAA, which he probably won't. But hey, like Devers didn't play in AAA. Who knows if he's
Mhm.
if he's really hitting, he can really make an impact on the team next year for sure.
Yeah. I mean, half of Devers was like it was necessity. They didn't have a third baseman at the time. It was crazy, but yeah, I mean that's an interesting question. But look, Mayer's the savior of the Red Sox future. So, but my point I was alluding to is you have about 70-ish million next year to spend until you uh pass the CBT threshold, the first surcharge, as they call it, right? You got to go get an ace. Like I don't want another. Oh, here's Corey Kluber. Here are a bunch of 3 through 5 guys. Here's Corey Kluber. Here's Adam Duvall. Oh, I gave Kike Hernandez a raise. No, I want to I'll get an impact player. Who knows? Maybe it's Yoshinobu Yamamoto. The guy from Japan. And
Absolutely. I mean, that'd be amazing.
hear
He's
me
only
out.
like
And
24
hear me
too.
out. In 2019, the Red Sox started scouting Yoshida, like in the beginning of the Bloom era, right? They started scouting Yoshida, and then, they went after him when he was posted, like 2020, 2021, 2022, boom. And guess what? Yoshinobu Yamamoto played on the same team as Yoshida did, right? So you kind of see where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I mean, he's available. Um, Nola is available.
Yeah,
Julio
no,
Urias is available. Like
I
they
I
better
say
go
no
out and
way
get
to Urias personally. And I'm sorry to interrupt
how?
you.
How can you say no way to
Just
Urias?
just because he's a Boris client.
Yeah, but dude, he's younger than Whitlock and Hauk. I've actually looked at this in the
He
past.
is?
He's younger than Whitlock and Hauk. But no, hold on. I actually
No
he's
way. Really?
27. He's 27. He has already pitched like 700 career innings. It's crazy. Let me look at it one sec. But I mean,
Hauk's 26. And I think Whitlock's 25.
Whitlock's 27, I want to say.
He's 27? Yeah,
Look,
27. My
look it
God,
up.
you're
Look it
right.
up. Let's see. He's 27.
God, yeah. Oh my God. I'm getting old, man.
Yeah, I mean, Urias is yeah. Urias has been so good. I mean, I think you have to look at him, even if he's a Boris client.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the Red Sox are going to be interested in them. Another guy, Marcus
Yeah,
Stroman.
Urias has 54 career wins. He's younger than Whitlock. He already has over 14 B WAR. He has a career ERA below 3 in almost 700 innings. He's 27. Somebody's going to pay him. He's going to get in. He hasn't had a great year so far this year, but he's getting a bag, and you have to look at him because
Yeah,
he's a guy who could be right next to Bayo for close to a decade in your rotation, just like Yamamoto.
here's another question. Do you we could be looking at a rotation next year of a potential ace? I don't know why I said here's another question, but we're looking at next year. You could potentially have on your opening day roster, barring an inevitable injury, unfortunately, you could have a guy like Julio Urias or Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Number two,
Yep.
Bayo,
Yep.
Whitlock, Hauk, Drohan.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's tough to tell with Drohan because he's moved quickly and he's been very good, obviously. But I like Cutter Crawford, man. I feel like he's
Yeah.
better than a reliever. I think he's gonna be a starter long term. And I agree with you. You can't count on Sale to have a spot in that rotation next year.
Nope.
He's just broken our heart too many times. Even if he still has it, I think for health concerns, whatever, just put him in the bullpen. Let him finish out the last year of his deal because he's not going to qualify for the remaining option. Let him finish out the deal in the bullpen. He'll put together a solid season there. I think it's better for his health and it's better for the team.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
we're getting ahead of ourselves talking about next year. I mean, it's tough because at the end of the day, like some people were so high on this team, but you and I, Jason, we both knew this was like a team that's going to hover around 500. It's a slightly above average team. This isn't a team who's going to make a push for the division or make a push for the World Series. That's the reality. And although the team was fun to watch at the beginning, it's gotten pretty tough with such bad defense. The quality of ABs has gone down. Devers isn't playing nearly as well as he needs to. So like, it's tough again for the Red Sox fans after a really disappointing last year. This season hasn't been all that much better.
Yeah. This deadline's gonna have a lot of it's gonna signal the direction even more. It's not gonna be clear, I still don't think, but look, if they do sell the 2 year, if Bloom sells the 2 year deals and he gets rid of all the 1 year deals, they're banking on 2025. I just don't know what year. And if
It's
they
just
get rid of
honestly there's no way, sorry to interrupt you, but there's no way they do that. Plus, dude, like job security.
yeah,
If they finish last again, Bloom's job is gonna be up in the air. And I know like for me, I wouldn't totally be like that because I want the guy here to I want him to finish out his plan. You brought him here to rebuild the farm system, which was totally depleted from Dombrowski, and to build a team that can win and compete long term. It's like sustainable
mhm.
winning, like what the Braves are doing. So, he's locked up guys on long term deals like Yoshida, Story, Devers, even Whitlock. And now you're seeing the prospects roll in. You're seeing Bayo and Casas and Duran and Wong roll in. Plus, they're going to try and lock up Verdugo long term. Plus, they have Meyer coming. Like you got to see the plan play out. You know what I'm saying?
Look, I know you're more of a I want to say Bloom supporter, but you're more on his side. I personally think he still hasn't shown me anything. Just because I know he had a trip to the ALCS sandwiched in between two last place finishes, but look, this is year 4 of Heim Bloom. I just to me the plan is still vague because like you said it perfectly, right? Heim Bloom was brought in to rebuild the farm system depleted by Dombrowski while fielding out and building a competitive team at the same time at the major league level, right? Your farm system, it just lacks pitching still in the high like double A and triple A outside of Drohan and maybe Brian Mata, but Brian Mata is interesting because he has no options next year.
Yeah, but
So
like we like yes, the farm system itself is lacking pitching slightly, but like Bayo's been insane. Whitlock is trending in the right direction for a starter. Both young pitchers. Hauk, same thing. Cutter, Winkowski have contributed. Like Zach Kelly even was, I think they like him. Murphy's pitching very well. So like we do have a lot of really, really good or pitchers who are really solid, trending in the right direction that are young. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I don't like I was saying before, Bloom's just got to show me he can make a deep run cuz like a lot of 2021 was built by Dombrowski cuz look, you got to look outside of Schwarber, you had Schwarber and Kike, you had Devers, you had Bogarts, JD Martinez,
Yep,
um
Vasquez.
Vasquez, that starting rotation, Evaldi, Erod, I mean Pavetta was technically in, Sale, Harry City Evaldi. I'm missing one guy. Hauk was pretty good. Bullpen, Brazier, Barnes,
Frazier, Barnes. Yep, yep.
Robles. But my point is simply
Well, the bullpen was terrible that year. They had Andre. Was that? Yeah, that was the Andrees year. The
Andres,
Robles
Austin,
year.
Bryce, Phillips, Valdez.
Yeah,
Ugh.
yeah. I mean, to my point, like the Bloom time has not been good, right? We've been 500. I don't even know what the record is for his time here, but it's probably right
It's
around
it's hovering
500.
around 500.
Yeah, it's hovering around 500, and we still have a $200 million payroll, and he's made both good and bad moves. I'd say like he's made good and bad moves. We don't need to get into those, but his job is definitely going to be up in the air if they finish in last again, as is Cora's and Bush's and Fatsy's. But I think Bloom once again, he's following the command of ownership. And I think, yes, that this roster has flaws and some of it's on him, and same thing last year, the year before. But I think this will go probably more down on the coaching staff than it will Bloom.
Hmm. That's an interesting take. I'm personally in the opposite, and I personally think ownership's going to back more in Cora. I could be wrong, but I think they're going to back more of Cora because ownership's like, oh look, Cora's taken us to the World
The World
Series
Series, yep, yep.
in his first year with a juggernaut team. That was a juggernaut team. You remember, right? 2021 had a very familiar faces. You could argue, or no, you can't argue. It was not as good as 2021, right? And you kind of got fucked over. But point being, Cora has shown if you make the postseason, he'll take you far, right? Bloom last year was 100% on Bloom. I give Cora a little bit of blame pie the way he handled the bullpen, but at the same time he had no bullpen. But this year it's interesting because I think you can back this up too. Half of Red Sox Twitter is split. Half is like, oh, screw Cora, he has to go, or screw Bloom, he has to go, right?
And I think Cora's been bad this year. I think he's been weird with the bullpen. His lineups haven't been great. He's super passive. The defense tends to fall on the manager. He keeps playing Kike at short. Like, yeah, he hasn't, but then he hasn't been good this year. Not at all. But then, like, yeah, we have Kike Hernandez making 10 million, Kluber making 10 million, Blyer as our best lefty in the pen.
Dick Blyer.
Counting on Sale to make starts. Like, we do have a flawed roster in ways. To me, it feels like Bloom's kind of following what leadership's telling him to do, and the staff hasn't been good enough. If I had to guess, it would be weird if they were to fire Bloom, because I feel like once again, like Meyer isn't here yet, and I feel like they have to give him at least a chance there and stuff, little things like that. So I don't know if it'll be Bloom or Cora first. To me, it'll just be weird, like if they give up on Bloom after this year, because everybody knew this was like another bridge year, reset the tax year, and if you finish with 84, 85 wins, you're going to fire him because he did just what you were expected to do, that kind of thing.
I think they'll fire him if they sell the 2-year deal pieces. Personally, I know they won't. I think has Bloom said it? I'm not sure he has. He doesn't say anything. But if they do, if they do, it's like, dude, really? Because you gotta remember, I tweeted about this the other day. Just a reminder, you're gonna enter year 5 of Hein Bloom. You're gonna be in a you're gonna finish in the bottom of your division, presumptively, probably in last place. You're probably gonna be sellers at the deadline. The young pieces are they're still young. You haven't made the postseason yet. You need guys who are impact players, not guys. I'm sick of those lottery ticket players, right? Pay for certainty, give me some winning baseball, and give me meaningful games in the summer. Because these past 2 years have been brutal for Sox fans. 2021, the end of it was brutal.
Mm-hmm.
Just I still don't know the path. And in the last couple minutes, I think, I'm going to try to stay positive and say Bloom does have a plan, but I want to know what it is. Cause like a lot of things in life, I want to know things. I want to know, like, why doesn't he go out and say, like Theo Epstein did, like, look, we're going to suck for a couple years, but give me time. I'm going to rebuild the core. And he did.
Yeah, but I think the plan is to pair like all-star, quote unquote, all-star talent on long-term deals, your Devers, Yoshida's, Stories, etc., with the young kids who are under team control for 5, 6, 7 years, like Casas, like Duran, like Wong, and kind of making this team young and under contract for long term for a long time. That way you're constantly in it with the same guys, that kind of thing, kind of like what the Braves have done, extend guys early, bring them up, extend them early, let them perform, extend them, and be good for a while. You know what I'm saying? I think that's really what the plan is.
Yeah, I mean, but with the payroll of the Boston Red Sox, I want more impact players. I know we have Devers, I know we have Story, but at the same time, you're a big market team. I just don't like we're trying to be the smartest guys in the room, which is like, oh, look at what Tampa Bay does. They go with an opener. They go with openers because they don't have the freaking capital or they don't have the money to go and have a 5-man rotation. That's why they have openers. That's the stupidest thing. But look, I see a path to be competitive in 2024, and I just don't see it this year. I think it's over already. There have been way too many low points. Their weaknesses have been exposed way too much. 1 step forward, 2 steps back is the perfect way to characterize this team. Once they go on a winning streak, they just keep losing in brutal fashion, and they disappointing loss, brutal loss, frustrating loss, hair pulling loss, winnable games, bad defense, right? It's just a roller coaster of emotion still. And that's, yeah. Any last thoughts before we wrap it up here?
No, I think we just about hit on everything.
Yeah, look, it's going to be interesting. I know that the deadline's about a month away. It's June 24th, 2023 when we're recording this. We're seeing some moves starting to be made, but like the Eduardo Escobar trade to the Angels, but like that's early.
And that's like a low end move. It's not a needle mover for either team, really. He's way past his prime.
Yeah, but I mean, point being, we're starting to see some minor trades.
Yep.
Yeah, but look, as I was alluding to before, we're a month away. Maybe if the Red Sox are going to be competitive, they got to freaking win now. I'm talking, they got to figure it out. And I said this, last
their next 10 have to be as good as their last 10 have been.
They got to go on a huge winning streak and sustain that winning culture. I know the Braves were like this in 21, but at the same time, they had a lot of impact guys. So,
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if our roster is there yet, if we're playing David Hamilton and Duran and those guys. And we've been kind of forced to with injuries, but
Yeah,
I don't know
look,
if we're
I'm
there yet.
fine with that. I'm fine with that because you're getting young guys exposure. I know, like,
Yes,
look,
but my
reality
point is
face. Let's face reality. This season's lost. Okay.
but in a year where you are giving those guys more opportunity than you would be in a past year, you're probably not buyers, you know?
Yeah, you're not because
Right. Right.
last year they should have reset under the luxury tax by trading Martinez, Evaldi. They did Vasquez and Rich Hill.
Maybe even Bogarts, like that was never an idea floated around because everybody was like, yeah, he's coming back. And I
Mhm.
don't think anybody saw him getting
Yep.
280 whatever million. So
Yep. And
yeah, I mean,
bring
who
up the
knows?
kids and give the kids consistent
Granted,
playing
granted,
time to figure it out.
yeah, our expiring contracts this year are nowhere nearly as valuable or good as our ones were last year. Like Paxton, yes, he has value, but nobody else has the value that the guys had last year. And I think if I were to, I would expect another Tommy Pham like addition this deadline. Could you agree with something like that? Like, a role player who doesn't
Me,
have to play every day. I would
I'd
expect
say
something
a
like
role
that.
player with years of control.
Yeah. And Pham's actually he's had a pretty nice year actually with the Mets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty, man.
All right.
Great
Good
episode.
stuff. Yeah.
Alrighty, go Sox.